Hey everyone, welcome to iConversations. Today is the 17th of September, 2024. We're delighted that you could join us either live or if you're watching the replay. Thank you for taking the time out to sharpen your swords and get better at what you're doing. Today we are joined by three Icon agents. We've got Bjorn Kunzel, Seb Ferrari, and Peter Forbes. Gentlemen, welcome to iConversations.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
I want to
see
just...
me?
I can see you, mate. I can see you. Fantastic. And I just want to get you guys to tell us who you are, where you work, what's happening in the market right now. And we'll start with you, Peter Forbes.
I'm Peter Forbes. I'm in Dalby, Queensland, which is 250 k's west of Brisbane, 85 k's west of Toowoomba. What's happening in my market? It's still pretty crazy times by Dalby standards. There's just people lining up to give me their money at the moment, which is always fun. I'm battling to get things to actually sell. But when I do put something on, it's usually the phone's ringing and people are wanting to look at it straight away. So market very, very strong here right now.
Okay. And what about you, Seb?
I'm Seb. I predominantly in the Moreton Bay area, north of Brizzy. Like Peter just said, the market here is still nuts. Everything I've pretty much got under contract or selling within a few weeks. It's difficult to hustle properties at the moment. So stock very, very short. There is a little bit of with some vendors, they're wanting too much for their properties. So there's a fair bit of negotiations going from a vendor side on the expectations more so than anything. Very, very strong. Multiple buyers, not lasting 2 to 3 weeks on an average.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And Bjorn, what about you?
Yeah, so Bjorn Kunzel, northeastern suburbs of Adelaide, South Australia. One of the early adapters of EXP, been here since the place pretty much opened up back in 2020. And I'm finding in my market, it's a bit hit and miss. It depends. It used to be hot to trot 6 months ago. I'm actually selling my house at the moment. I was actually wishing I was doing it 6 months ago, not now. Seems to be a bit of a mix there between what type of property you've got. Some properties are absolutely nuts and going gangbusters. But these vendors that are building new homes and they're only like 1 or 2 years old and they're trying to make huge profits from them, that's not really working. For those of you that don't know, South Australian government's announced no stamp duty for brand new builds and first homeowners grant of $15,000 for any new build and regardless of the price. So you can buy a $2 million house, you still get it. It used to be a cutoff. So I think what's happening in my market is that with the newer stock that's only a few years old, buyers are comparing that to what they would get and what they would save if they were building a brand new home. And it could be a gap of 60 or 70 grand that they're saving. So I'm trying to have to educate the vendors that, look, this is what they're saving. I know you want here, but you're going to actually have to be priced 70 odd grand less to make it an equivalent par for a buyer. So it's getting a little bit touch and go here in SA in certain areas.
Yeah, and just to finish off what's happening around the country in Western Australia, where we have been going crazy, we're still suburb dependent, can be really, really fast. But I was chatting to one of our successful agents here. They did a home open on the weekend. It was the launch open and not one person came through. And that hasn't happened in a long, long time. So markets may be changing where you are, and just be aware of that. Make sure you've got the tools ready and sharpened to get to work if that's happening in your space. Gentlemen, I just want to talk to you, maybe just like a roundtable conversation, a little bit about how to build a business. I want to ask you some basic questions. So just to set the tone, we've got agents that are partnering with us at EXP that have been in the business for 25 years. They know what they're doing. They're on it and whatnot. We've got agents that have been in the business for 1 year, 25 times, and they're not sure what they're supposed to be doing to build things up. And so I just want you to reach in. I don't know exactly, but I'm thinking we've got somewhere around 50 years experience on the screen. And I just want to say, if you were starting over again, thinking back to if you had your current knowledge, if you were starting over again, what would be some of the things that you would focus on? And we'll start with you, Bjorn.
So first thing I'll do is whatever CRM system I'm using, I'll learn that properly. So start with the basics. Don't try to get too far ahead of yourself, because your CRM is like your holy book. Whichever religion you are, that's your holy book. And if you don't know how to reference your holy book or how to use your holy book, you're in a world of trouble with trying to navigate your way through the world of real estate.
Yep.
So learn your CRM first and foremost. Secondly would be to contact everybody that you know and just have a general chat to them. And at the end throw in, oh, by the way, I'm now a real estate agent. If you need any help, just reach out. Third thing to do would be to pick a patch of maybe about 1,500 homes, no more. 1,000 to 1,500, and just start door knocking, calling, letterbox dropping, being seen in the area. You know, get something with EXP on the side of your car. You can get magnets from Vistaprint cheap, just so that you can just let everybody know in that particular patch what you do, and just sort of slowly start working it from there. Stick to the basics. If you're in an area where there's another EXP agent, ask to go along and follow them at open homes, ask to do buyer follow-ups for them, and just really try to surround yourself with some positive people and just copy and paste basically from an experienced agent.
Yeah, and for those of you that worked in fast food at some point in your life, you know, it's just 2 all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. That's a Big Mac, boys and girls. And real estate can be the same if you approach it that way, what Bjorn is saying. So I really like that. Just use that template and keep going. Peter Forbes, what would you do with all your knowledge if you were starting again? You're on mute, by the way. Just we don't want to miss your knowledge.
Sorry. So yeah, Bjorn summed a lot of that up there. I think when you're starting out, you've got to try and find a way to be a little bit different. Particularly if you're listing houses. I mean, I think people see real estate agents as generally the same. So, you know, you've got to come up with something that you're offering that's different to what the others offer, because ultimately you've got to try and find some things to sell and just take whatever you can get initially, but you've got to, or how I did that and how I would do it now anytime, but find something that's a little bit different and go with that. That your approach, how you're going to sell their house, you've got to sort of try and stand out in the crowd that you're working in. That's something that I think is very important. Everything Bjorn said's important. Getting to know your CRM, I think it's a bit of a forgotten soldier, but yeah, just keep powering through that and learning that, because they change all the time as well. So. Yeah.
Yep. Different features, more features, whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
Learning that. Seb, over to you, mate. What would you do if you, with your current knowledge, if you were, and you're on mute as well. Yeah. If you were parachuted into a new patch or you had to restart, what would you be doing?
I'm going to say something a bit controversial here. I think what the two gentlemen just said absolutely nailed it on the head. But I would first and foremost take another step back and work out who you want to work for. So I wouldn't work within. Go and look at the 10 most successful offices and try and work for the best office with the best agent, and hopefully get them to take you under their arm and just. It's like going to university. Getting into real estate, it's not a 1-year course, and it takes time, money, sacrifice until you get your degree in this game. So firstly go and find the best people that you want to work for and go and work for the best. Secondly, with this CRM, and this is the controversial part, I would absolutely have my own CRM, independent to what the office has, because your career may change multiple times along the way, and what you've built up you should cherish and hold, because that will be your future growth. Other than that, I think Bjorn's has said it a few times now on a couple of the sessions, and he's very knowledgeable with that. Just pick your patch. Don't worry about the houses, worry about your people, worry about making yourself known and have a point of difference.
Okay, that's very good. And I want to, my next question, so this is like a Q&A kind of a scenario. I remember listening to Lee Woodward years and years and years ago, and he was kind of talking about the progression that we have as an agent. You know, you get your registration or whatever, and you start, and you think, this is amazing. I'm going to go and be in beautiful homes, talk to wonderful people, and I'm going to make so much money. It's going to be so easy. And then 6 weeks in, and nothing. 3 months in, nothing. You think, this is not for me. And then 6 months, you want to quit. And he said every 3 months you feel like quitting up until you've been through about year 3. And then you finally go, hold on, I can do this. So what I want to ask you, with your current knowledge, what kind of a self-talk would you give yourself if you're in that patch where you're not seeing success? It could be the first 3 months you're in a new area, 6 months, 9 months. Like, how do you keep your mojo up? And Bjorn, we'll start with you.
Just before we go there, just touching back on what Seb said about your database, because I'm just remembering now that obviously other people are watching this that aren't EXP.
Yeah.
All right. Now, the reason why everyone in Australia isn't EXP is because a lot of them are trapped and they're locked down with any of the franchise because the franchise owns their database. A lot of them, the franchise even owns their mobile phone number. So if you're going to go work for one of the top guns and they're in a franchise system and the agreement is that they own your database and they own your mobile number, my first advice would be probably find somewhere else. But secondly, if you do that, definitely pay and invest to get your own database and do not use the mobile phone number they give you. Get your own mobile phone number, because I can tell you this, if the franchise system didn't lock everybody down by owning their database and making them feel like they've got to start again, we would have 1,000 times more agents at EXP, but they lock people down. So first and foremost, what Seb said, if you're brand new, don't get caught feeding a franchise's database. Get your own database, get your own mobile. If they give you a mobile phone, just leave it on the counter and don't even use it.
Yeah.
Now, going back to what you just said,
yeah,
I didn't sell anything or list anything for 8 months when I started real estate. So I was just working in the office, working for a gentleman called Nabil Shahadi, who was a top operator at that particular time. And basically, I was there from 9 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night in the office. And we were doing scripts and dialogues. I was doing all his callbacks. I was going to all of his open inspections. I was working 6 days a week. And I was just realizing that real estate, everybody says if you can get through the first 2 years, you've made it. So a lot of people, you know, they get disheartened. You've just got to understand that there's a light at the end of the tunnel and that it's prospecting for gold. You know, somebody can dig, and then give up. And they could be inches away from finding the biggest gold nugget they've ever found. If you don't give up, you'll be successful in real estate as long as you've got good mentors. So you've just got to understand that, like somebody like myself who's doing really well, 16 years in, if I would have quit after 2 months or 3 months or 4 months or 5 months or 6 months or 7 months or even 8 months, I would be nowhere. I'd be working at Coles for 38 grand a year, you know, and maybe $100 in staff bonus vouchers at Christmas. Do you know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not where I want to be. So I think you've just got to understand that the light is at the end of the tunnel. Most successful agents, if you ask them their stories, they didn't become successful instantly overnight. There are a few, but they're freaks. Majority of us took a while to get going. So just have faith in understanding there's people that have walked that path before you that are now years down the track that are highly successful. So just don't quit. The difference between success and not success is whether or not you hang in there or whether or not you quit.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And Seb, we might move to you. Your mojo, how do you keep it going?
Yeah, perfect what Bjorn said. But further to that, I think you've got to treat yourself like being coated in Teflon in this industry. You just got to let things slide. 2, don't take things personally, right? But number 2, keep it simple, stupid. What I find is a lot of people, they get into 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, they get disheartened. So they start looking at shiny stars and start working out, what am I not doing right? You know, I'm doing something wrong. And then they procrastinate and they start to spend hours and hours on irrelevant things that will have no results. Unfortunately, it's a game of results. But if you just keep it simple, don't reinvent the wheel, work with the successful agents. Most of them don't work very hard at all, the successful agents, because they know that everything that they do is somewhat systematic. And they've worked out, I've only got to do this and it gives me this result. I don't need to do 3 hours of cleaning up my database and playing around with an Excel spreadsheet. I don't need to attend a Tom Panos seminar every week and listen to the same script I've learned 3 or 4 months ago. There's more than enough information on the internet today. There's more than enough successful people you can reach out, especially with EXP. We have some amazing people that can cut your trajectory to success if you just reach out to them. So that's my 2 points. The first is you've got to have Teflon. Don't take things personally. It's business. Business is business. It's like I was a sports person most of my younger life, and you've got to learn from each game and then adapt and then move on. And you don't just give up because you've just had a bad weekend and got smashed by the locals. You just work out what to do, but you don't also change the rules of engagement. They're all the same. They're just ever improving. So, but you can always go in, smash your head in against a 200-ton Kiwi. But you know what? They'll buy you a beer at the pub and they're the nicer people afterwards, because business is business. Once you cross that line into the office or you put your cap on for prospecting, it's business. Don't take things personally. After that, we can shake hands, walk away. If we made an error, we apologize and move on.
Yeah. Okay. And one of the things that I think is really, really important, I heard one of the top agents in Australia one time say, yeah, some days I do feel like things have gone so wrong. I want to go home, put my head under the blanket and and disappear for a while. And that's okay, because real estate's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You know, we all have days where we think that didn't go to plan.
The funny thing about that is it's just not real estate. Every industry is the same.
That's exactly
Every
it.
single industry is the same. I worked at a high profile business, one of the most successful retailers in the country. And I can tell you now, there were many cases of there where, you'd have to deliver 3 bottles of Jack Daniels for them to get through the week.
Yeah.
Or, every industry is the same. Don't think it's just real estate. The difference is that in real estate, you think a lot of agents, I'll rephrase that, a lot of agents think they're out there on their own, and they're not, especially with EXP. You've just got to reach out. And that's the difference, because in a normal, more of a traditional business, and Bjorn worked for retailers as well, you go to your boss, you complain to them, you vent to them. In real estate, a lot of us don't have anybody to vent to, don't have anybody, so we suck it all in. But I can tell you now, there's plenty of support mechanisms and great agents that you can reach out with EXP, and they'll always help you.
Yeah, sometimes you just need someone to come alongside you and say, "Come on, it's gonna be okay. Don't let it, don't let it whip you. Let's get going." Peter Forbes, how do you keep your mojo going if you might have lost it a bit?
Yeah, this is a good question, because I reckon the first 10 years of my career, I probably wanted to quit 100 times. I reckon it's really only
the days that ended in Y.
Yeah, the last 5 or 6 years that I've come to grips with, I am Peter Forbes and I'm a real estate agent, and this is it for me. This is my career. This is what I'm doing. And I've probably got 10 years in me left, I'd say, and I'll just give it away. I look at old real estate agents and I don't want to be that. I look at that and I'm feeling like I'm probably getting to that, but I look at my competition and I think, what a goose. Why don't you just go home and die?
Yeah.
And just get out of the way. Like that's how I see that old-fashioned real estate agent. I don't want to be that person. Yeah, I see other people and what they're doing and getting all upset. Seb has talked about something very important there, and don't take anything personally. I know my father was in real estate for 20 years, and he'd been retired about 10 before I started. But he said to me when I started, he said, "Peter, don't take anything to heart, and don't get messed up because a friend of yours won't list their house for sale with you." I didn't really know what he meant, but I see it all the time. People I know very well, I've been close to, they don't even ring me. They've listed their house with someone else. And, early on, I probably took it to heart a little bit. Now I literally don't care. I'll see them in the street, ask them how their sales going. I literally have no qualms whatsoever with that side of it. And there's a lot of that, but I see the young people around me at the moment doing things, and talking and, you know, getting all busted because Arnie Joan didn't list their house with them. Like, honestly, who cares? And in one respect, you're probably better off not dealing with Arnie Joan and watching it not go so well for Arnie Joan from a distance, because it's not as simple working with that sort of scenario. So I think that's very important. But how do I keep my motivation? I actually couldn't tell you, but my driving force has always been to get real estate myself, to buy and sell my own real estate. So that's probably been my driving force. And this business can help you do things you want to do. And what I want to do is buy and sell real estate. Yep.
Oh,
So that's probably my motivation.
so just to recap, it's about having clear goals that are bigger than the disappointment of the moment. It's about not taking things too seriously. You know, if you have a flat tire, you have a flat tire. It's just, as Seb said, it's just business, you know, and you got to move on. The next question I want to ask, and this could come out in a couple different ways, but if you think back to your original learning curve, like Bjorn, you said it was 8 months before you started to get some wins on the board. What do you think, knowing what you know now, what do you think would have accelerated that? You know, like if you could jump back into Bjorn Kunzel 0 to 8 months with your current skill level, what would be different?
Probably confidence. I love real estate. I love it. This is like, you know, you see AFL footballers, they're playing footy not for the money. They do it because they love footy. I'm one of these guys in real estate. I'm a freak. I actually love real estate. So I'm going to be one of these old geezers getting around. Because I'll get bored otherwise, man. I get too bored. So
Yeah.
I guess there's not too much that I could have done. I mean, I was doing from 9 o'clock until 11 o'clock at night, but I was in the middle of the global financial crisis. So let's put it into perspective, okay? So we were 2000 and
You weren't the only one. You weren't the only one working 12, 14-hour days, getting zero results.
It was 08 to 09, and it was like all about vendor management. So I think I'm glad I started in that market because I know how to have tough conversations with vendors and have to have real conversations with vendors, which helps me every day today. But I guess, you know, rejection, you've got to make rejection your best friend. I've never really liked rejection. So sometimes there's probably a few things that I could have done, which I didn't do because I was probably scared of a rejection, like a door that I didn't knock on or, you know, a phone call that I didn't make. You got to make rejection your best friend, you know? If you're in a club and there's thousands of people there and you're trying to find a friend or a partner or whatever it may be, eventually, if you go around to everybody, somebody's going to like you. Somebody's going to want to have a drink with you. But if you only ask 1 or 2 people and then you stop, well, you're not going to get anywhere, you know? So I guess making rejection more of my friend early would have been a good way to start. Whereas I didn't really do that until year 2, year 3. I took it really personally, like Peter said, you know, somebody's listed with a friend or, sorry, the friend hasn't listed with me or whatever. So I'd take things real personal. So probably be less personal, make rejection my friend earlier.
Yeah. And I was thinking about when whoever it was that said, you know, Auntie Jane or whoever didn't list their property with you or whatever. I'm thinking, yeah, that auntie only thinks about you as the problematic child at the last family event that they saw you at 4 years ago, and now you're a real estate agent, and they're going, I don't think so. You know, like you can't take it too personally. Seb, what about for you? With your current skills, if you went back and you were thinking about your initial days, how would you make that different?
I think for me, it would have been just mindset, understanding, getting rid of all the fluff and bullshit that they feed you originally when they do the seminars to get you into real estate, and just my mindset would have been far more successful far earlier had I known it was a sprint, like you said, a marathon, like you said, not a sprint, as opposed to, you know, believing everybody that you're going to make $1 million in your first year. So just my mindset, knowing that it's, you know, it's a 2, 3, 4 year journey before I even start seeing some, you know, amazing results, and just to knuckle it down every day, reset every morning. Yesterday was yesterday, put your foot forward today, start again. You know, we're at every week in real estate's footy finals week. You don't worry about the score. You worry about doing the right things. Doesn't matter whether your team's 20 points down or not, because that next try is going to put you one step closer. And lo and behold, you know, by the end of the game, you may have won it because you just focus on those essential things that'll get you. Don't worry about the scoreboard. Put your foot front every day, reset yourself, reset your mind, and understand that it's a long game.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I was chatting to an agent who's working in a new patch, you know, and their desire to get a result is not in proportion to the amount of work that they've actually done. And sometimes, you know, as a new agent, you can go and drop 100 letterbox drops of whatever you're dropping or whatever, and you think, well, I still didn't get a listing. You're like, yeah, that's not enough. Like, that's just not enough work. Like, you need to do more work. Peter Forbes, what would you say, taking your current knowledge and pouring it back into your early days self? How would that have changed things?
Yeah, look, I don't think it would have changed anything much with me. I've always had clear ideas of what I wanted to present to people as who I was as a real estate agent and what I wanted to do to sell their house. I don't think anything much would have changed. I think Bjorn said that you know, confidence levels will be high. There's no doubt about that. Like, I'm far more confident than I was then. But the way I present myself and how I'm going to sell someone's house really hasn't changed per se, and I don't think I would change it. But I guess the confidence side of it would make things different because, yeah, early on there was plenty of people talking about me and how I was not up to it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that sort of talk. Recently did an appraisal and the guy just said, Peter Forbes, they said you'd never make it. And I said, oh, what do you mean? And he said, oh, everyone at my work when you started said that guy's got no idea what he's doing. He's just started up on his own. And I told him that they were wrong about you. And here you are, 16 years later. You've done all right, haven't you? That's what he said. So, yeah, I don't think, and look, there's nothing you can do about that. That's just people and their perception of you. So,
I had the same thing. I remember people where I used to work early days, like, that guy'll never last. That guy'll never be in the industry. And 23 years later, they're all now the old guys that you were talking about, Peter.
Yeah, you don't want to be that old guy. There's been a few in Dalby, a few old guys. They want to tell me how to do things, and I don't like it. I don't like them. I don't want to be that person.
Well, what we can identify is Peter Forbes works to an ideal client and an ideal person he likes to be around. Guys, just before we close off today's session, I want to just get your thoughts on. So, Bjorn, you said confidence. Seb, you said mindset, and Pete, you said you always knew what you were doing, so that's good. But if I give you 2 words, how do you see them impacting someone's real estate career in growing a business, you know, like to take it to the next level? And the 2 words are abundance and scarcity. And so, Bjorn, we'll start with you. How do you think that mindset of abundance and scarcity impacts people's business?
Well, if you keep focusing on what you don't have, you're going to get more of what you don't have. And if you focus on what you want and you have the mindset that everything's going to be okay, we all know, you know, what you get what you focus on. You know, it's no secret. And they call it The Secret in the book a long time ago, but you get what you give, and what you're focusing on. Oh, I don't have any listings. I don't have any business. I don't have any money. I don't have any of this. Well, you're training your brain to have more of the same. So, you know, when I first started, I actually had a mind coach, and they said every time I'm doing a letterbox drop, I'd pick up the flyer and I'd go, I'm going to get a listing today. And then next letterbox, I'm going to get a listing today. I'm going to get a listing today. I'm going to get a listing today. And they just, even though I didn't get listings that day, but they'd still train your brain to be positive and think that what you're doing is going to lead towards a result. So I think it's just a matter of mindset is everything in this game. Confidence is everything. And if you're down and out and if you believe you can or you believe you can't, You're right either way. That's what Nabil Shahadi said to me. Bjorn, if you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right either way. So you choose which way you want to believe. So there you go.
Yeah, okay. And Seb, for you, abundance, scarcity, how do you see that impacting growing a business?
I think I'll answer it this way. I think abundancy comes through repetition, work, and consistency, and mindset. Like Bjorn said, you have to always reset and be positive on everything you do. I think that's also true in life itself, because we always, the naysayer, the little devil on our shoulders, always telling us you can't do it, you're no good, you're no better. And you always got to put that little devil to rest. But as long as you reset every morning and learn something from the things that you can do the next morning, abundance will come. It will come. Just consistency, learn, just do the basics right. Scarcity is a good question. What is scarcity? It's like that piece of string question, because when I was doing 10, 15 sales a year, I've always never had enough listings. Always scared for the next listing. Then I started doing 20 to 30 deals a year. I'm still scared because scarcity is always there. So there's not enough listings. Now I'm doing 50, 60, 70 deals a year, and I'm still scared because I don't have enough listings. So the scarcity for me is always and I think for all agents, we never have enough listing, but when is enough, and that's a personal thing. I think Peter's found his niche. He's done the hard yards. I absolutely applaud him for having that mindset day one. And good on you, mate. Go and tell those other buggers the writing's on the wall, stuff you. And just keep doing yourself, be yourself. And he's obviously a genuine guy that's come through, and that's why he's done so well over so many years with a lot of hard work and pain, I'm sure. But yeah, scarcity is always there in real estate. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter whether you do 10 listings a year, 10 sales a year, 20 sales a year, 50 sales a year, or 60, 70 sales a year like we're doing. I'm still hustling for deals and going, shit, I don't have enough listings this week. Where other people kill to have those sort of results.
I always laugh when internally, mostly when I see agents, they're I talk to a lot of agents all week long. Obviously, people ring me, they got challenges with deals and whatnot. We have conversations, and people are like, I'm wigging out, Rob. I'm so stressed. And I'm like, oh, what's going on? I've only listed 2 this week. and you talk to the next person and they're saying, I'm so stressed, I've only listed 1 this month. Like everybody stresses a different thing, a different perspective. Peter Forbes, if I come to you and I say, how do you feel the mindset of abundance versus scarcity impacts your business, what would you say?
Yeah, so I think the abundancy thing, I mean, I've gone through terrible patches in Dalby where nothing much is selling, everyone's miserable and blah, blah, blah. But there's always things that sell, always, and I always I used to always look at the numbers when everyone was down and out and whinging, and you'd look at them and you go, well, the last 12 months, there's been 140 houses that have sold in Dalby. That's still a lot. And you only got to get a small percentage of that and you're highly successful in my town. So, even if I got a 1/7 of those, that's 20 houses, and that's more than enough for me to be happy.
Yeah.
So I used to look at things like that. And to me, even that low number of 140 houses selling in Dalby for the whole year, there's still a chance to have an abundance of sales for Peter Forbes in there. A very good chance, because that's not a big number with all the other fuddies doing real estate. Selling a 20th or a 1/7 of them is not a big drama. So I look at it like that. Scarcity, I don't. That's not really in my vocabulary.
Yeah.
The scarcity thing, I don't even.
That's not surprising to me, Peter Forbes, that you've gone past in life, and some of us old farts in real estate, we have had a lot of knocks, a lot of flat tires, a lot of bumps and bruises. We've been through the GFC, we've been through the ups, the downs, the whatever. And what we have learned through that is that the sky is not falling. All I need to do is just do the work. The very things that Bjorn said when he first started, if I ever get to an agent that's really struggling, and I'll just ask them the basic questions. So let's just peel all the nonsense back. Let's talk about what are you actually doing on a day-to-day basis. And when I get down to the, I got my notepad and my pen and I'm asking them the questions, what you get is not much. On a daily basis, I'm scared, I'm freaking out, I don't have enough business, but I'm not actually doing much.
Now, it's funny. The truth is, you ask an agent that doesn't have much stock, how many doors did you knock on today? The answer will be 0, or they'll bullshit.
Yeah.
How many phone calls did you make today to strangers that you don't know? The answer will be 0, or they'll make something else up, right? And then you find an agent that's flying along, and you ask them, how many people did you speak to today? How many calls you? Now, they might not be knocking on doors because they don't need to, but it's going to be, oh, yeah, I've had this conversation with, I've called 7 buyers today. I've spoken to 3 prospective vendors. I've sent 5 price reports. I've sent 2 emails out, just do the activity. Simple.
Yeah. Activity breeds activity. Yeah. I used to work in a company where I was in charge of running the KPI sessions for 3 offices. So you would have to sit down and we'd have to do you remember all the nonsense. You've probably been through it before. And I was chatting about this to a couple of agents recently, and I said, I would never do that again as a metric for me to try and find out what an agent's doing. And the reason for that, and someone was like, why is that? And I said, because I know when agents are working and I know when they're not, as a manager role kind of scenario. And they're like, how do you know that? Because they call me. They're so excited. They just door knocked Smith Street and they got an appraisal. They're so excited. They just got a listing and whatever, or they just got a listing and the photographer can't make it. Do I know somebody else that's got a photographer? They've written up 3 contracts. How does this go? How does that go? They're telling me that they're working. I don't need to do any tracking. It's just an interesting thing. Gentlemen, final thoughts on this particular subject, how to grow a business. You've given some amazing gold. Any final comments from you, Bjorn?
If you don't know what to do, get a letter that says, this week we're going to be knocking on your door to provide you with quick 10-minute appraisals. Nothing to do with selling. If I knock on your door and you'd like one, just invite me in. And drop it in a street, and then the next day, knock it. Drop it, knock it. Drop it, knock it. Drop it, knock it. If you don't know what to do, just start there.
Cool. Seb, final thoughts from you?
Just every day, take a new step, refresh, start again, keep that mindset positive, and Teflon. Don't take it personally. It's business, it's just business. Do not get personal, keep going. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Excellent. And Peter Forbes?
Just hang in there. I think real estate's it really is it's a thing where the longer you stay in it, and you're bound to be successful eventually. And I look at the old fuddies around town and they do all right. It's just because they've hung around longer. Nothing more. If you just hang around, it's, I don't know, it probably sounds very easy for me to say that because I've done the hanging around, but yeah, I just think be present and just keep going with it because, well, I think there's 2 ways to be successful, and that's work hard, and the second one is just hang around longer than anyone else, and you will get there eventually.
Yeah.
If you can grind for 5 years, you can earn an income that is more than the average Australian's income, even by doing absolutely F all during the day as an established agent, just because you've established yourself. Like if you followed me around and you watch what I do each day, you think Bjorn's just like a man of leisure. Like this guy just doesn't do any work, right? But the hard work's got me here, and now, do you know what I mean? So struggle for your 5 years. Just hang in there and work your butt off for the 5 years, because after that it gets really, really easy, really, really fast.
Yeah, gentlemen, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. Thanks everybody that's joined us here live, and we'll see you on the next iConversations.